Welcome to this creative tech hack video for Woodwork's Future Focus program, where I'm going to show you the simple steps to starting your own podcast. Hello, I hope everyone is safe and well. My name is Daniella Timperley and I'm a broadcast production student at Queen's University in Belfast. I'm a short film producer and most recently a podcaster, which brings me on to what we're going to talk about today. So starting your own podcast is so much fun, probably because you can do it on whatever you like. Music, sport, film, whatever interests you. My podcast is called How to Change the World, which invites on young changemakers. The aim is to spread the good that young people are doing in the world to inspire more people to do good and make a change in their communities. I love having guests on my show, especially because it keeps me connected to people during the lockdown, and you can do the same. In this video, I will cover what equipment you need, what makes up a podcast episode, presenting tips, how much to plan, a quick editing tutorial, and how to distribute your podcast. So here's what you need. You will need an external microphone. I use the condenser mic. This is a toner condenser. It's about £40 odd on Amazon, but you don't need to go to that extent. You can use a gamer headset, you can use a USB microphone, or even just your regular earphones that have a microphone on them anyway. You'll also need headphones. This just kind of blocks out the sound if you're interviewing on Zoom or something. These are Sennheiser. Again, you don't need that. You can use your earphones like I just showed you. You will also need software. So I recommend using the free edit software Reaper. I show you how to use it later, and also download Zoom, which I'm sure many of you have anyway and used to death last year, but it is great to talk to guests on. So before you start recording, you need to know what makes up a podcast episode. You can have any format to your show. You can have different segments, multiple guests, whatever you'd like. But these are the elements that make up every podcast episode. Your intro and outro, jingles, and a voiceover. So in the intro, you should have your show's logline. This is just one line about your show to grab people's attention. Your outro could be where people can find you on social media. You can also say where they can find your guests on social media. You can maybe tease what's coming up on the next episode, or simply just thank your audience for listening. So for the jingle, I'm fortunate enough to know a musician or composer, but you don't need to go to that extent. Here are some websites that you can find some royalty-free music to use as your jingle. I recommend West One and Epidemic. Voiceover is just you talking and connecting with your listeners. So that brings me on to presenting. So in terms of presenting, I have one main piece of advice that will take you far. If you think you're talking slow, talk slower, because there's nothing worse than a rushed intro or a guest asking you to repeat a question. Listeners that have maybe missed something that you said won't rewind back, and then they might lose interest. So it's really, really important to talk slow. Interacting naturally with the guest is a must for a presenter. In order for the listener and the guest to feel comfortable, you don't want awkwardness or second-hand awkwardness. Don't just prepare a set of questions and read them question after question. Bounce off what the guest is saying, relate to it, add something to it, or ask new questions based on what they're saying. In terms of how much to plan for an episode, I would recommend only scripting the intro and the outro and maybe links between segments if you're making a more complex podcast. My podcast is only one guest per episode, so that means there's only one segment. I just put down bullet points of talk points that I want to hit based on my research, not a set of questions, because if you have set questions, you might repeat yourself if the guest maybe answers one of your questions earlier on in the episode. So I would definitely say if you're interviewing a filmmaker, for example, watch their work before you interview them, because it will come across if you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know what the guest is talking about. So I'm going to show you the main tools on Reaper that you will need to edit your podcast. Remember, you can also use other free software such as OBS, Audacity, or Pro Tools first. So I'm going to show you some of the basic tools to piece together your podcast. As you can see, I have 4 different tracks. I'll come back to why that's really important. That's basically to organise. So I've got my jingle, my intro and outro track, my voice and guest voice. I'm going to leave out the interview portion of this just because I want to demonstrate very, very quickly. So Basically, this is going to be very loud. The normal volume of this is here. The normal volume of this is around here. So as you can hear, this is very loud. And I want my intro over the top of that. So I want this to be a lot lower. And bring my intro in. Hear what it sounds like. Hello and welcome to How to Change the... I would like my voice a lot louder, so I'll bring that up. Hello and welcome to How to Change the World. And I'm happy with that. So if you want to fade in or out, hover over the top corner and the little sort of triangle will come up. You drag that in to fade in. Same on the other end to fade out. You can also adjust the duration by hovering in around the middle of the end of the track and dragging in. What you can also do is split in the middle of a track. You maybe said something here you don't want to include. So put the little pointer in the middle, right click, split items at cursor. Maybe you want to end it there. Same again. And hit backspace to take it out. And these are two separate items now. They're basically the only tools that I use to piece together my podcast. I want to show you this, and this is why I said that it's really important to have different tracks for different audio pieces, because sometimes I get the guest that I'm interviewing to record on their phone separately in case Zoom Wi-Fi and audio messes up in the middle of the interview and I need to use a different audio recording. So sometimes I get them to record on their phone. But that brings background noise, buzzes and hums and things that I don't want in the background of my podcast. So this is where the FX comes in. So select the part of your track where you just hear the background noise like this. It's ugly, you don't want it there. So you go to the FX of that track. I like to use this one called Reefer. Select OK, and it will bring up this. So you want to go to Mode, Subtract, tick Automatically Build, which will change the edit mode to Precise. Then you want to play and pause the part of the audio track and it will find that noise that you want to take away. So untick Automatically Builds, go back to your audio window and it's no longer there. I'm now going to show you how to release your podcast on the free platform Anchor. This is where you upload your podcast for distribution. So as you can see, this is my dashboard for my podcast. If you just go here, you can see, you can do your podcast name, description, your logo, cover art, what category it's in, your social media links, all of that. And you can see it's on 7 platforms, Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. And what you can also do is go down and you can see where your podcast has been listened to across the world. So mine is the UK, US, Ireland, Turkey, Poland, Germany, Malaysia, and India, and where people are listening to your podcast. So really, really interesting. You can get age range of people. It's really, really good. And then all your episodes are listed here. And yeah, it distributes your podcast for you. So all you have to do is upload your new episode, drag it in here. You can even record on here, add music, transitions, whatever you like. And it'll distribute it to all the different platforms like Spotify for you. And that concludes today's video. That is all the steps that you need to create your own podcast at home. I hope this video has inspired you to begin your own passion project. Good luck in starting your own podcast journey, and do give my podcast a listen for some inspiration. Bye! Remember to like this video and subscribe to Whaleworks channel for more creative tech hacks.